Here's something nobody talks about. Doing nothing is cheap. Stay home for a day, and you don't burn gas getting anywhere. You don't put miles on your car. You don't buy a $5 coffee because you didn't have time for breakfast. You don't pay for parking or transit. You don't lose 2 hours sitting in traffic. Of course, you also don't earn anything. So, that's unsustainable. But here's the strange part. Once you get a job, a whole second economy appears around that job. And that second economy doesn't just take a little bit of what you earn. Sometimes it takes most of it. We measure jobs by what they pay. Salary, hourly wage, annual income. But your salary is not what employment actually pays you. Your real compensation is what remains after the costs required to earn it. That's not a philosophy. That's math. And when you actually run the numbers, the results are more unsettling than most personal finance advice is willing to admit. Let's take a real example. An airport worker, baggage handler, gate agent, shuttle driver, something in that range. The pay is $25 an hour. On paper, that's $52,000 a year at 40 hours a week. That sounds reasonable. That's close to median household income in the United States. But here's the problem. You can't live at the airport, and housing immediately around a major employment center, especially one as land-intensive as an airport, tends to be expensive or non-existent. So you live somewhere else, maybe 30 miles away, maybe 40. Now the job requires a car. And once you need a car, you don't just need a car. You need gas, insurance, maintenance, tires, registration, and every mile you drive to work is a mile of depreciation you're paying for the privilege of showing up. You want to be financially responsible, so you look for the legendary $8,000 Toyota Corolla that runs forever. Except everyone else wants it too. The reliable used cars have been bid up. The affordable ones come with question marks. So you compromise. You find something in between. It runs. Mostly. Then one morning it doesn't. The car needs a repair. Not catastrophic, but not trivial. $600. You can't afford to miss work, because missing work threatens the income you need to fix the car you need to get to work. That's not a hypothetical. That's a loop that millions of people are inside of right now. So maybe you pick up overtime. The airport's always hiring for extra shifts. 70 hours, 80 hours. The gross income starts to look dramatically better. But now you have almost no discretionary time. And this is where the second-order costs start to appear. Meal prep becomes harder. Laundry becomes a logistical problem. Exercise disappears. You know cooking every meal is theoretically the frugal answer. But when exactly are you supposed to do it? You're working 12-hour shifts. By the time you get home, you have maybe 3 hours before you need to sleep to do it again. In that window, you're supposed to cook, clean, prep tomorrow's meals, do laundry, maintain the car, and maybe, if there's time, be a human being with relationships and a body that needs rest. And even if you successfully meal prep breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next day, you now have a new problem. Those meals spend hours sitting in containers. Moist stuff gets dry. Dry stuff gets moist. The sandwich you packed 8 hours ago is technically edible, but it's not good. Meanwhile, the alternative is everywhere. The airport, the hotel nearby, the gas station on the way home. A $5 coffee here, a $4 snack there, a $15 to $20 meal because you're too tired to care anymore. So you're choosing between money poverty and time poverty. And sometimes you're experiencing both simultaneously. This is where we need to talk about effective hourly wage. Not what your job pays, what your job leaves behind. The formula is simple. Effective hourly wage techs divided by let's run it for our airport worker. 40 hours a week at $25 an hour. That's $1,000 gross. After federal taxes, state taxes, and FICA take-home is about $780. That's using realistic withholding for a single filer in a state with income tax. Now subtract the costs that only exist because the job exists. Gas, tolls, commuting wear and tear, minus $100 a week. Car depreciation and maintenance attributable to the commute, minus $75. Extra convenience food and coffee because there's no time to prepare everything, minus $40. What's left? $565. That's the actual economic benefit. That's what the job delivered after the costs required to earn it. But we're not done, because we haven't calculated the time. 40 hours working, that's obvious, but add 7.5 hours commuting, 5 days, round trip, 40 miles each way in metro traffic. Add 2.5 hours for getting ready early, waiting for shuttles, and buffers to avoid being late. Add 3 hours of work-specific prep, packing meals that will get soggy, ironing uniforms, managing the car. That's 53 hours per week, committed to earning $565. The effective wage is $10.66 an hour, not $25, $10.66. And here's the moment that makes it real. You did everything right. You left early. You drove all the way there. You paid for the gas. You arrived with a buffer, because you've been late before and you know what happens. You get to the employee parking lot. You walk to the shuttle stop. The shuttle pulls up. It's full. You have to wait for the next one. 15 minutes. Now you're late. You absorbed almost all the costs. You absorbed almost all the risks. You paid to get yourself 95% of the way there, and you're still penalized because the last link in the chain, the one you don't control, failed. That's not unlucky. That's the structure. This isn't about one airport worker or one job. This is about how we measure work in America. We look at salary, and we stop. We don't subtract the mandatory costs. We don't count the hours that aren't paid, but are still required. We don't track the health impacts, the sleep you're not getting, the exercise you can't fit in, the chronic stress of managing a system that has no margin for error. And we definitely don't talk about what happens when you try to escape the trap by working more. Because working more doesn't just increase income, it increases costs. More commuting, more convenience purchases, more wear on the car, more deterioration of the routines that keep life cheap. At a certain point, working more makes you poorer in every sense except the number on the paycheck. What if we measured jobs differently? Not by gross pay, but by net economic benefit. Not by hours worked, but by total hours committed. Not by career prestige, but by what the work actually allows you to do with your life after the costs are paid. Some jobs would look much better under that lens. Remote work with no commute. Flexible schedules that allow you to cook, exercise, and sleep. Employers who cover transit or provide meals. Jobs close to affordable housing. Other jobs would look much worse. The ones that pay well on paper but require you to live somewhere expensive. The ones with unpredictable schedules that make planning impossible. The ones that require a car you can't afford to maintain and penalize you when it breaks. This isn't an argument that jobs are bad. It's an argument that we're measuring them wrong. Your salary is not your compensation. Your compensation is what's left after the bills that only exist because you're employed. After the commute, after the car, after the convenience food you buy because you don't have time to cook, after the stress, the sleep loss, and the hours spent managing the logistics of showing up. We measure jobs by what they pay. Maybe we should measure them by what they leave behind. Money and time. Because if you're working 53 hours to take home the equivalent of $10.66 an hour, you're not building wealth. You're just running in place, expensively. And the first step to changing that is knowing what the job actually costs. The next time someone asks what you make, try calculating your effective wage. Take what you actually bring home after taxes. Subtract what you spend, because the job exists commuting, car costs, convenience food, work clothes, childcare, all of it. Then, divide by every hour the job requires, not just the ones you're paid for. Include the commute, the prep time, the recovery time you need just to do it again tomorrow. The number might surprise you. And if it doesn't surprise you, if you already knew something was off but couldn't name it, now you can. Because here's what this calculation actually gives you. Clarity. Not necessarily solutions, but clarity. Maybe you discover your effective wage is still reasonable, and that's valuable information. Or maybe you discover you're working 60 hours a week to net $12 an hour, and suddenly certain decisions become obvious. That second job you were considering? Run the numbers. The apartment that's cheaper but 45 minutes further from work? Run the numbers. The career move that pays $8,000 more but requires a car upgrade and professional wardrobe? Run the numbers. This isn't about judging anyone's choices. People do what they have to do with the options available to them. But you can't make informed decisions with incomplete information. And salary without costs is incomplete information. It's a number that pretends the infrastructure required to earn it doesn't exist. We've built an entire economy on that pretense. Maybe it's time we measured what work actually pays, not what it promises, not what it looks like on paper. What it leaves behind after everything required to show up is paid for. Money, time, and the life you have left to live with both.